Do you want to learn more about the real Belize and listen to locals and expat stories that are actually living here in Belize? Well, you're in the right place right now. You're listening to Belize Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Macarena Rose. Welcome everybody to Belize Talk Radio, and as always, I'm your host Macarena Rose, and what do we talk about? Well, everything to do about Belize, and you know that I am passionate about animals, I am passionate about food, and I'm passionate about my coffee and children. So, you know what?
In that order.
In that order. But being a foodie, it's really important to bring you the best of the best, and that's why we're downtown San Ignacio today in Belize and right by the Welcome Center. So I've told you before, don't miss the Welcome Center when you come to town. And if you live here, you all know where that Welcome Center is. So tonight we are with a wonderful man who is actually a brother of a dear friend of mine. Remember I coached the Kiowa Avengers soccer team? Well, here's his brother. So welcome Ian Lizarroga to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thrilled to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I have eaten here. You know I'm a foodie. I love it. But before all of that goes into play, I want to know the passion and the story behind the man that made this whole vision happen. Because, we have a lot of restaurants in Cayo, and I, of course, tried all of them.
Yeah.
Yours is very unique.
Well,
very unique. How did you come up with this vision?
It's not so unique when put into context. I mean, I think my mother grew up about a block down the street from here, and then moved away, obviously, when you migrated to Belize City. We grew up there as children, but San Ignacio and this area has always been a very special place for us. So I started developing resorts in this area maybe 10 years ago. And back then, when we started the resort industry in Belize, 10, 15 years ago, the luxury resort industry, the resorts were very often the destination.
Okay.
So when I transitioned from the resort industry, I said, let's make downtown, let's make San Ignacio the destination that we all know it can be. So we started to develop, when we transitioned from the resort business, we started to develop a group of really boutique-y little restaurants and bistros in downtown San Ignacio, and what's the new Welcome Center, which lies between our lovely farmers market and Burns Avenue, which is the main street here.
That's true.
And of course, then you have the river down by the farmers
Yes.
market as well. So it's all here. So we decided to take, what better location to have a great little restaurant than next to a farmers market, down the street from your local butchers. It's just really the perfect location. So downtown San Ignacio becomes my pantry. So we decided then to put together a culinary team of local chefs. Chef Jesse Maas, who is our executive chef, studied at the CIA, Culinary Institute of America in New York, and has really brought to us that history of Belizean cuisine, but has now put a very current spin on Belizean cuisine. So it's about using the local ingredients, using everything that we're inundated with, that's freshest, that's most
fresh.
Available to us, and all putting it into this very, this very current symphony of flavors. So it's been a really fun project. It's been a fun project as a former hotelier to bring that attention to detail, to pay attention to the music and the lighting and the staff and what they look like, and to really develop that local industry. And to see how it's been sort of received has been a thrill in and upon itself.
And I know that you have put so much attention to detail because being a former restaurateur, I notice these things.
Yeah.
And above all of that, the people that come here that don't even have that eye or that history notice it. From the food to the decor to the design
Of course.
to your staff. I mean, you have perfected it on so many major levels.
Well, we work towards perfection. We're never there, are we? I mean, we work every day towards this sort of elusive finish line. But yes, we did put together, when we created Fuego, which is our first restaurant, which is the one we're in right now, we paid attention to all the details. We paid attention to the lighting and the music and the way the staff looked and the decor and everything. So we tried to bring a first world approach to the Belizean restaurant industry, which really prior to this, it was more sort of mom and pop. And those are still here and they're quaint and they're amazing and they offer great local cuisine. But it's about now helping the industry to sort of mature. To start to say now that Belizean cuisine could potentially take its rightful place right next along other global cuisines. We don't have to apologize anymore for just having rice and beans and stewed chicken.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It makes it nice.
So.
And
So.
many people were looking for change and something that wasn't at a resort.
Of course.
No disrespect. They wanted something that was in our town and in the heart of San Ignacio.
And still respectful to the history of cuisine in Belize. So what we did was when Jesse and I put together this menu, it was about going into the homes, going into the grandmothers, to the sort of matriarchs of cuisine in this area, and learning from them, drawing out the recipes that they had that maybe sort of started to forget, and started to really be respectful of where cuisine was and where it needed to go. Not necessarily where it had gone or where it was going, but where we thought it needed to go.
That is so brilliant. What an intentional way to actually change some flavors and bring flavors that would have been lost.
Of course.
It's
And
like
now
a fusion.
we're working on getting our sauces now, our rubs into local grocery stores. We're working on local cookbooks. We're starting to do the things that we knew that the restaurant industry or the culinary industry in Belize, the direction in which we knew it needed to go. And it's fun to be at the forefront of that. And then the second business we did next door was our first coffee shop. So we brought in a green bean from the highest elevation in Antigua, Guatemala, which, by the way, is a stone throw away
Yes,
from
it's
our border,
neighbors.
from our border here, and brought in the best bean we can find. We went right to the local farmers from the local farmer co-op, bought that bean green so that it was affordable, and then we roasted here on site. So then coffee becomes a big part of the language we speak. The food becomes a huge part of the language we speak. The drink becomes a huge part of the language we're speaking. And we put it all together in this lovely location, and we try to make it this amazingly interesting little place to hang out.
And it is.
Yeah.
Even tonight we're going to have music. I see you have a calypso mix of a band.
Well-
How fantastic is that?
Yeah, of course.
All right here in downtown San Ignacio, which is yumminess to me. And the fact that you hit on two things. I'm a foodie and a coffee foodie, or a coffee-oodie. What do you call that? I'm a coffee aficionado.
Call it whatever you want to.
Whatever, as long as I drink the coffee, right? I'm a coffee aficionado. I adore my coffee. And like I need any more energy, right? This is natural.
She hasn't had her coffee yet, by the way.
I haven't. Somebody offered it. I said, no, not before I do the show with Ian, because I don't want to be too jittery. This is me naturally. So I want to really thank you for allowing us in your space.
No, thank you for coming.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to give you kudos because your staff that's here, when I've been in, and you're not right here, they're still wonderful and they're very professional. And I know that intention to detail really takes work.
Well, that I won't take credit for, and I'll tell you why. The wonderful thing about the Belizean is that they're still naturally, they're sort of natural hosts. They welcome you into every situation like they're welcoming you into their home. It's not you know, in sort of maybe more developed destinations, maybe that kindness has sort of been led by the hope of gratuity or return. In Belize, it's not that way yet.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's still
It's
so
so
natural
wonderful.
and they're so welcoming, they're so humble, they're so lovely. So that part I won't take credit for. That's the Belizean, and that's what makes Belize and its people so very special. Is that they will treat every visitor here like it's a visitor to their home.
It's very unique, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Even-
And that's
yeah.
why I think why you and I are here. Really, to be quite honest.
That's
Yeah,
very interesting,
yeah.
actually. And you know, I do know that even when I had first come to Belize, it's been over 11 years. That is something I noticed about people. I've always been gracious. It's just something
They're
that's
so
in
gracious.
me.
That's the word I was looking for,
And when I
actually.
would be gracious and say,
Yeah.
thank you for your service, or thank you for helping me, or I say thank you. I believe in saying thank you.
Yeah.
And people would say, oh, it's my job, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that doesn't matter. You
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
with such humbleness and gratefulness
There's a
that
grace.
you are grace
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
It's not like,
that's it.
oh, you're no problem. You're glad to help
Yeah.
you. It's like, oh no, I was glad to see you, or I was glad to help you. Big difference.
Yeah. When I worked with the Ministry of Tourism as well, and as you travel across Belize, you'll find that it exists everywhere. You know, you go into villages in Punta Gorda or villages here in the Cayo district, and they're so wonderfully accommodating. If there's an extra bowl of soup, it's yours. And so really we try not to train that out of them. We try to maintain that spirit, that energy, that grace, to where that becomes really the calling part of the restaurants here, is where it doesn't feel like you're in a fine dining restaurant in New York City, but it feels like you've come into someone's wonderful, beautiful, cute little home. And I think that's what makes Belize special ultimately, is you feel like you've not only now sampled the cuisine, but maybe you've gotten to know a couple of people while you were here.
Which makes Belize the reason that I was drawn here so many years ago. It was definitely people. So when you have a restaurant like you have done here with Fuego, which, by the way, as far as real estate goes, you picked location, which is always the smart thing to do. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But the thing
We
is,
ticked the boxes, didn't we?
Oh, you ticked it.
The parking, the location,
Yep.
the lighting, the security, it's all
everything.
there.
You're a smart man. Good
Yeah,
job.
no,
Well done.
we ticked the boxes.
You took it to another level by the way that you did the design. It is so incredible how it all flows.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do feng shui design, and you did it in such a beautiful eye that you are very talented.
Well, thank you, but again, I won't even take credit for that. And let me tell you
no,
why.
you know what? This man, I've tried to give him all of these compliments,
Yeah.
and he's so humble,
No,
which
let me
is
tell you why.
beautiful.
It was about, in Belize, is we're so young, and we're ultimately, I mean, if you think about it, we just celebrated what was it, our 31st birthday, or what was
No,
it?
I believe 34th.
34th
year,
birthday. So we're still
still babies.
We're still figuring it out. But the restaurant industry in Belize, or at least at this level, is relatively new. So what we did was we didn't assume that we knew everything.
Right.
And we started to surround ourselves with wonderful consultants and people who had done 40, 50 restaurants globally. We brought them in and we said, these are the local materials that we want to use. This is what we think will go over well here. And we sat back and we let them do their jobs. So what we did was just surrounded ourselves with a lot of lovely people and put a lot of really good professionals in a position to be successful and give Belize and San Ignacio the respect it deserves.
How fabulous.
So I think, again, in the past, maybe it was more mom and pop, maybe it was more about, Auntie Jude coming in and saying, well, I like that fabric and I like this light. This was more about giving the restaurant industry now the respect it deserves and starting to bring this industry along and make it a legitimate first world approach to developing restaurants in a country that deserves to have great restaurants.
It does deserve, because we have so many things. To have some great restaurants is fabulous. And the fact that you have this here is just, we're thankful. So thank you for that, by the way.
Thank you.
So I'm excited. You have a new menu coming up.
What we did was, we sort of, this has been our first year. So in the first year, We started out with a very simple version of the menu. We used a lot of local ingredients and we tried to present it in unique and very special ways. And I opened the restaurant with Chef Jesse Mass, who had done a local resort with me in the past. I think him and I have done 2 resort restaurants in the past. So what this latest menu is sort of the first year of learning experience under our belt. We looked at 3 or 4 menus over that first 12-month period, and we said, what did everyone love most? And we put it together all in this latest version of our menu. We're preparing for the 2014-15 peak season. We'll start.
And we're going to stop you there because we have to go to commercial. So I'm going to make you wait for just a moment to hear some of these new fusion items coming up in the new year, right?
Right.
It's fabulous. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm your host, Macarena Rose, for Belize Talk Radio on the Overseas Radio Network. Just a few commercials, and we'll be right back.
Alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosa buena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosa buena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena.